Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of CSI 1130 Intro to Java Programming. In this video I want to talk a little bit more about the relationship between a class and its object, and methods and an object, and data fields or variables and the object. We saw this class run in a previous video, the address applet. We ran it. It gives you something like this. You enter some data into the fields, you click submit, it'll clear those fields and move things over to this text area. But what's really happening here is each one of these sets of fields and labels here on the left side is an instance of a separate class. So there's going to be a separate class and a separate memory location from this applet that's going to store all the data in these fields. Let's take a look at something. Class AddressFields looks like this. We can think of it as just a box that is going to have the potential to contain all of these pieces of information. It's got some instance variables. Text fields are going to be called name field, street field, city field, state field, and zip field. And there's going to be a method that is void called ClearFields. These are all the things that we're going to access outside of this class from another class. We're going to access all of these in the applet. When we create new objects, what's actually happening is you want to think of it kind of like there's a box that's going to pop up in memory. So when I do home gets new address fields and then pass the string home into it, it's creating a new box somewhere in the memory system of your computer that's going to store all of the variables that we see in the class address fields on the left. So there'll be a new memory location that will store name field, street field, city field, state field, zip field, and also have access to the ClearFields method. When I do that for home, there's a special spot that stores all that stuff. And then when I do work, gets new address fields, and then pass work into it, a whole other memory location, another box shows up in memory someplace else that's going to have its own storage space for all of those fields you see on the left. Name field, street field, city field, state field, zip field, and also the ClearFields method. So there's going to be a set of variables for the work object and a set of variables for the home object. They'll both behave independently. So when I define a class, it creates the potential for creating unlimited number of objects in memory that will store all those pieces of information that are instance variables for that class. So if I made another object, maybe called vacation home, and made a new address fields and then passed vacation home into it, that vacation home would create a box somewhere in memory that would store all of those fields and that method and all the labels and all that other stuff that goes into creating the address fields class. That's the relationship between a class and its object. So it's like you create this box in memory that's going to store its own unique set of data based on that framework that you built earlier. So home object is going to get all of those things. Work object is going to have its own copy of all those things. They have both of their individual copies. It's pretty cool. When I do the ClearFields method, home.clearFields, it's going to clear all of the data out of the fields for just the home object. And you saw in a previous video that I commented out one of those calls. I commented out work.clearFields, and it only cleared the fields for the home set. Well, what's happening is when I do home.clearFields, it's only accessing the home object. So it's locating that particular box in memory that stores all of those variables, all of those name, street, city, state, and zip field variables for the home object only, and it's going to clear them out. Then when I do work.clearFields, it's going to access those unique individual variables just for the work object. So there's that box called work object that's someplace else, and it's going to access all of those fields and clear those all. That's how that object orientation works. So we've got a class called AddressFields, and we can create as many objects as we want. The home object and the work object. Okay? Now, we saw in the code, and you might want to have your code open along with this and look at the area that is going to create the output string It's that method, I think it's called CreateOutputString, something like that. Well, it's got two calls in there. One that is string home text and one that is string work text. And you'll see this little section of it that says home.namefield.getText. When you see home.namefield, that section that's highlighted purple there, what it's doing is it's finding the home object and then it's accessing the name field. It's accessing only that one text field called name field in the home object. It's not doing anything with the work object, just the home object. So when you see that dot operator, as we saw before in the ClearFields method, home.clearfields, the dot operator is making sure that that method is getting called to the object that's on the left of it. So home.clearfields is accessing the home object. It's an AddressFields an object of type AddressFields. We created that class AddressFields, and then when we create an instance of it, like I said before, it makes a box for that one unique object. And when I make another object, it creates a box for that unique object. And those objects behave independently from one another. So when I do this, home.namefield, it's going to access the name field text field from the object called home. And then what it's going to do is at that place, it's going to have access to that text field, so I can do .getText. That's calling the getText method from the text field class, the JTextField class. Since home.namefield is going to return a JText field, getText is chaining a method call to the end of that and just calling getText to that text field. And it's going to return the string from that field. Same thing for the work.namefield.getText. That's going to get the text out of the string out of the JText field called name field for the work object. Okay, so this is how these methods and these classes interact with one another. You create a class that's your framework that's going to lay out how all of the data is going to be stored and how all the methods are going to be used. And then when we create our objects from them, home and work, or vacation home, or secondary work, I mean, you can create as many address fields as you want from this class. Each one of them gets their own unique box somewhere off in memory that stores unique copies of all of those variables that we created in the class. And then we can access them independently, like this, home.namefield and work.namefield. I hope this kind of filled in a few of the gaps from the previous video and explained things in a little bit more depth. I wanted to make 2 videos for this class because it's really doing a lot of stuff and there's some really important things going on. Thanks for watching.